And we're back from the meal break. Hey, again, I'm Ben Lauer. I'm the Developer Community Manager here for Kinect for Windows at Microsoft. And if you're still with us from this morning, awesome. Actually, it could be evening where you are. Glad you're still with us. If you're just joining us, welcome. Alongside me now, I have Carmen Siriano.
Hello.
It's Carmen, not Carmine, as they would say in Manhattan. We learned that recently in a hackathon in New York. He was Carmine everywhere there. But it's Carmen Siriano. He's our developer support engineer. And we're going to be talking here in this module about how do you use Kinect with other frameworks or libraries. So again, I'm a program manager and developer community manager here on the Kinect for Windows team, responsible for the developer community, helping developers get help, resources to build awesome apps and experiences using Kinect. Carmen, you want to introduce yourself?
Carmen Siriano, as Ben said. I've been with developer support at Microsoft for about 7 years now. Been helping everyone with the media technologies mostly, but in the last couple of years focusing on Kinect directly. So, it's been a ride for the last year getting this product off the ground.
Yeah, awesome. We're glad to have you here. So let's jump into it. We're going to start off here. We're going to talk about just sort of an overview for the module and really the why. Like, why would you want to use Kinect with other frameworks? So the module overview, as we just said, why you would like to do this. We're going to spend some time talking about Unity 3D. Carmen's going to show a bunch of demos there. How do you get things sort of set up and piped into Unity? I think it's fair to say, Carmen, that I don't think the Unity app that you're going to show is going to win any Game of the Year awards.
Probably not.
It's going to be kind of a bare bones, hello world type of thing, just showing you how to get that data in. Then we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about Cinder and Open Frameworks. These are two very popular creative coding libraries, really strong communities out there. So we're going to show those. Again, code, demo apps running. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about the Kinect Common Bridge, which is a project that we actually launched about 9 months ago-ish?
October
last fall.
Last year.
Yeah, we did that on the V1. We've continued that with V2, so we're going to talk about KCB, as we like to call it here. And then we're going to wrap up in the end and tell you how you can get in touch and how you can kind of help contribute as a member of this community, because we are really, really looking for what are those other libraries and frameworks where you as a developer spend a lot of your time, and we want to work with you to help get Kinect data in there easily. So why would you want to do this? I don't think it's crazy at all, because people, we basically are doing this because we want you to be able to use the things, the tools, the environments that you already know and love. So when you use an additional framework or library, as you know, you can write a bunch of native code and you can roll everything on your own, but man, is that painful. So you get access to additional capabilities, and you can bring Kinect's eyes and ears and all of the body tracking and that higher level understanding into that environment. And I think it's fair to say that one of our big motivations here is just make this really easy for you as our developer out there. Here on the screen, you'll notice there's a couple of pictures. The bottom left one is a Windows Store application that uses open frameworks, as well as a bunch of open GL, HLSL shaders. Did I say that right?
It's OpenGL shaders.
OpenGL shaders. Okay, I got two wordy on
OpenGL, yes, as well. So.
Yeah. And you can see here, Rick Barazza is one of our colleagues, and you can see what can happen when you apply these shaders, and you can kind of get that blur effect on his right arm. You get that cool pixelated effect on his hand, using the Kinect depth data. So we're going to talk about this type of thing. On the right is an app that Carmen actually is going to demo, and it uses Cinder. It's called Particle Man, and you're going to see how cool that is. So with that, I think we're going to switch into the Unity 3D section. We're going to talk specifically about the Kinect.unit. Actually, you know what? This is a live event, and I just want to go ahead and fix our slides as we go. Kinect.unitypackage.
Yes.
Fix that typo there. We're going to go through a demo of the setup and then a running sample. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Carmen.
Sure. So as it was stated in the earlier talks, the Unity pack, we wanted to bring Unity in as a first-class citizen of our APIs. We wanted to make sure that, people who are developing games or graphics type interactive content using Unity had a way to use or connect data in a pipeline they are very familiar with already. So we're officially supporting a Unity package. This is going to be available through a separate download. It's not currently part of the SDK, but a separate download. And again, this easily brings all the Kinect data sources into your Unity app. It's .NET, it's managed, and it allows you to get all the data in and basically makes it into an environment that you're familiar with. We want to note here that Unity Pro is required for the plugin. This is due to the plugin support of the of Unity, because you have to use the Pro edition to import packages such as ours. So with that, we want to go to
I want to just throw out one more thing here, Carmen, that's on the slide that I think is important for everyone to know out there, in that when you think about what we're doing here at Microsoft, right? At the Build conference back in April, we talked about, hey, these universal apps, right, for phone and for Windows. And we talked about how universal apps are going to be making their way to Xbox One at some point in the future. So if you think about what we're doing is we're really doing the work to make sure that it's as easy as possible for developers to write their application in a single code base and then make those necessary UI tweaks for the context or what's, what feels native on an individual device. So if you think about this Unity work that we're doing, because as we talked about earlier in Jesse Kaplan's talk in Module 2 about this common API surface across the PC and Xbox One, you can now use Unity to target desktop and Windows Store, so you could build a Kinect app that spans those two, and then as the Xbox platform continues to open up in the future, you can then go, you could use Unity as one of those ways to go, cross-platform. Looks like we got a question that's come in from the audience here to clarify. Somebody's asking for support for the Unreal Engine 4 for this. Actually, we don't have support just yet. I do have some encouraging news on that front, and I'm going to ask you to just hold that until a few slides from now, and we will actually get into that. So, Carmen, I think you wanted to switch over now and go back to the demos, right?
Correct. So what we're going to do here is kind of run through the hello world of writing a Unity app, bringing people up to speed on really what you're going to do to actually bring our Kinect base into your application and get things going. It isn't going to win any awards, as Ben said, but we wanted to kind of give you a kind of workflow to kind of go by, and then we'll go a little bit deeper and actually show you something cool you could probably do with the application. So here on my screen, this is the Unity project wizard if you're not familiar with it. So what we're going to do here is just create the hello world. And we're going to create the app. And this will bring us up into the Unity IDE. So if you're not familiar with this, you can look this up online. So really what we want to do here is actually show you how to bring the plugins into the project and allow you to get started. One of the things that you'll note is the Unity package that we provide is a separate download, as we said. And I'll go into the folder here on the desktop. And we have this as a zip file, and if you unzip it, you'll notice that you have this Kinect for Windows 1407 Unity package. And
so
we have
point out here 1407 is the build number of our public preview that we've shipped today. So this is just a way that we're numbering the SDK version 14 for 2014 and 07 for the 7th month or July. So that's just the
helps us keep track of these things.
Exactly.
In addition to the package, we have a little README here if you want to open that up. It's just a comments on what you're going to find. We also have this Kinect view and a green screen sample. So these are projects that you can open up directly in Unity and start to use them. And I'll show you how we can use that in a project here. So the first thing we're going to do is actually bring in the package. So we got to do an import custom package, and then just click open here. And like we said, we're going to actually bring in a couple DLLs and some helper functions. And you'll note here it says Metro. This isn't. This is what we used to call Windows 8 during the development phase of the product. So Unity has taken that as Windows Store. So if you're not familiar with that, just refer. If you see Metro in the Unity package, that's for developing Windows Store apps.
Okay.
So we're going to bring these in, and then we'll see here on the left. My layout may not be the standard layout that you'll see. I just wanted to give maximum view to the game area here. And then what we're going to do is actually go to the folder that was created in our Unity folder. And we said it was called Hello World. And then we have this assets folder. So this is the heart of your Unity project. So we're going to actually copy the demo scene here and bring that into our Hello World assets folder. And paste that in.
So that Kinect view is part of what we're providing
as a sample,
as the package, and people just can pull that into their own Unity app as a starting point.
Yes. It provides a couple little things that you might like. Mainly, there is a main scene here, so you can actually load it up. But so we'll actually load this up to give you an idea of what you'll find. In the hierarchy view, so this is kind of the objects that we've created for you and put them onto the area here. And they're divided up into managers and views. And if you're not familiar with this model, managers are really where to get the data from. And the view is actually the game object or piece of code that you're actually going to use to actually display the content in the game space or the world space. So I don't want to go too far into this. I actually want to show you how we create these. So I'm just going to come up here and say New Scene to clear that out. We do get a camera, and we're just going to create an empty object. And from the game object here, you'll see that there's nothing. It can't render. There's nothing to this. But we're going to do something here. We're going to add a component, and we'll call it a script. And we're going to choose one of these managers that was brought in through that project we already made. And we're just going to make it the color source manager. So as I said, the manager really is there to kind of manage the data that's going to come from the Kinect. And we need to make this bigger because this is too small for...
Try to make it easy for people who are watching this to follow along.
Yeah. Fonts. And... uh-oh. I'm not sure where to make that bigger.
Can you click on default? Is that where? I mean, if you click on the word default. Okay,
there we go. Edit.
Extremely helpful, as it turns out.
So I'll apologize now. Again, the code is available through the sample. So
okay.
If you're looking at this later, be sure to have the code side by side, and this might help you. So a couple things we want to note here is these two objects here. We have a Kinect sensor and a color frame reader. If you saw Jesse's talk earlier, this was the kind of the core components of getting data from the Kinect. We'll create a sensor object, and we have to have a reader to pull in the color frame data or data from the sensor, depending on the type of source. So one thing also I wanted to note here is whenever you're writing games, you follow something called the gamer's loop. I tried to make it bigger. I'm sorry. I'm not really familiar. Actually, maybe I can view this. Zoom in. Yeah, that's how.
That works.
Is that big enough? Perfect. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So as we set up here, we have two member variables here called a sensor and a reader. In the gamer's loop, I was talking about this gamer's loop, and typically when you do graphics programming, you want to get most performance out of your app. So you don't want to use an event-based system because you don't know when the events are going to show up. You want to be able to use as much processing power as you can. So in the gamers or graphics type frameworks, you'll see something called the gamer's loop or rendering loop. And really what that is we do a setup at the beginning, and then we initialize some global variables or some variables that we're going to use later on. And then every time that the counter ticks, we want to do an update. We may have to simulate where objects are in the world, or get data from the sensor, and then we want to render.
How many ticks per second in Unity? Is it 60?
It's 60, but well, actually, the ticks are a little. We want to render 60 frames a second as a fixed frame rate. You can go higher if you want. You just have to turn off that. We want to synchronize with this frame update, so it's 60 in North America. A lot of gamers can perceive this as a way that, maybe there's some latency. So if you have it at 60 frames a second, it's less perceivable by the user that it's going to be a little bit slower or just has that feedback that people are wanting.
Okay.
Now I said 60 frames a second, but the Kinect only runs at 30. So because we can do something called polling inside of the SDK, we can ask the Kinect for a frame. And if the frame's not ready, just wait for the next time it comes. And we're not going to update any frames until we actually get that data. And we'll kind of go through a quick little rundown here. So as we've seen in Jesse's talk, we got the default sensor from the APIs. This is should be exact to what you're seeing in the .NET code. Sorry, we've got a question here on the screen that can the Unity plugin be used with 2D projects? Of course. This is global to Unity, not just a 3D application. So if you want to do gestures or something like that, you may not be able to use the interactions directly within Unity, but you can build a framework around that and maybe do your own type of things that we'll see later on in the modules. So here we're going to get the default sensor. We're going to create our reader. Here we're just doing something. These are kind of best practices in that we want to get the color format of the color frame. We want to get the width and height because we want to be able to create an object that will hold this data. And we're going to do that right here in the texture and this data object, and then we're going to open the sensor. And then, as I said, we have an update loop. And again, what all this does is ask the reader, do you have a frame? And if you do, then we're going to copy the data and apply it to a texture. So let's see how this works. So here we have the color source manager, but I said this doesn't render. So what we really want to do is we'll add an object here. We're going to add a cube, and we're going to attach this color source viewer, which is this one here, to the cube. So we have this cube here, and now you'll see that we have this script attached to the cube, and it wants a color source manager. So we just drag and drop the game object for the color source manager, and then we're just going to run this real quick. And then,
so the color source manager, because it was part of that Kinect view, that sort of default code that we pulled in, you're saying that's already just sort of part of this game.
Correct.
And it's just literally as easy as dragging it onto that cube.
Right. So as you saw, I did it really quick, but I kind of rendered this really fast to show you. You see this cube down in the bottom right here? This is really the view up from the camera in world space. So what we got to do is kind of orient the cube and do things and align things a little bit better. But if I just kind of run this real quick, you should see the blue background, and you kind of see me waving. It's really dark.
Very small.
It's very small because the cube is actually further away from the camera.
Right. I almost feel like if we could rotate this, I'm not a Unity guy, so it seems like maybe this would be straightforward, but if you could rotate that cube and have it turn, you could be like General Zod in Superman 2, where you're sort of trapped in the space prison.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of cool things you can do. What we want to do real quick is I'm going to show you the actual the real scene that we had from the project, which is here. And these have been aligned. They've been set up so that you actually can see all the Kinect sources. So you can see on the right, we have our depth data with color. So you see me. I'm kind of extruded away from the wall. You see in the center here is my skeleton with all my joints, and IR in color.
So is there a way right now to change the camera angle sort of in real time in the viewer here?
Not in this sample, but
okay.
I do have a sample that can actually show that a little bit better. And so what I'm going to do here now is open a new project that we had in the oven. This is a really demo-heavy project, or demo here. So
it's in the name, demo.
Yeah,
it's good.
It's a real demo here. So I'm going to load up my scene here. And now you see we still have this color camera, and we have a depth camera, and we have a geometry view and a color view. I've hid the color view for now because we've seen color in the previous one. But we have this new geometry view, and I kind of want to give you a better use of the Kinect data. And what I did here is I set up the camera in a different way. And here's a visualization of depth in 3D space. So what we've done...
Can we pull up the picture-in-picture real quick on this? Because I just think it's good to show that even though, I mean, if you see in the picture-in-picture here in the broadcast, you see Carmen is facing the Kinect camera off to his left-hand side. But you're saying because of the way you've turned the camera inside of the Unity app, you're now seeing you from the side again because we have this.
Correct.
We have all that depth data from the Kinect sensor.
Correct. So right now, as you can see, there's space between me and the wall. I can't touch the wall right now, and you can visually see that in the visualization here. So we're dynamically creating particles in a shader. We're actually not what we were doing was we were creating a texture object before and doing things, and it didn't, textures are great for 2D, but when we're in a 3D world, we want to see that depth data, and we want to see things happening. And here we're actually seeing, the profile of my nose. I didn't think it was that big, but apparently it is. And we can kind of pan around and zoom. But that's the way this project was designed. Cool. So this isn't part of the SDK, but talk to me on the forums. I'm always there, and I can kind of show you a bit what we're doing here. The power of this, like I said, is coming from the shaders, and this is just going to be we're passing in all the depth data to the shader and having the GPU do all the work for us.
Great.
So that is Unity.
Terrific. Do you want to go back to the slides?
Yes. If we can go back to the slides on Ben's machine.
Okay, so there we just showed how you import the Kinect Unity package using the scripts as Carmen showed, and then running a couple of samples there. So we're going to switch now into the next section of the module, and we're going to get into showing Cinder and open frameworks. We're going to start off with a highlight reel. And I just want to kind of tee this up and say this highlight reel comes from the Open Frameworks site. So they've published this up on their Vimeo channel. You can go see there's a fuller length version there. I want to point out not every one of the projects that we're going to see in this highlight reel uses Kinect, but many of them do. And I'm showing this because I think it's important for people, Carmen, to see the types of creativity and these interactive installations that are being created with things like Open Frameworks and Cinder. So we're going to show that just to kind of give you guys an idea out there. Then Carmen's going to talk about some setup guidance. We've got some docs that Carmen created that are up on our blog. We're not going to spend time here in the module going through all the setup stuff, but we're going to point you to that, and then a lot of demos. So with that, let's switch over to the video. All right, great. So some really cool stuff there, as you can see. So here, this is sort of just a quick disclaimer, or actually some pointers, if you will. The helpful setup guide that Carmen created, you can get to on the Kinect for Windows blog. Here's the link, aka.ms/K4WCC setup. CC for creative coding, because both Cinder and Open Frameworks are considered creative coding frameworks or libraries. You can download Cinder from their website at libcinder.org, and you can download and install Open Frameworks from their site, which is openframeworks.cc. So I think with that, we're going to switch over now to the demo. We're going to talk briefly first about Windows to Go. This is something that we've, necessity is the mother of invention, right, as they say. So Carmen's going to talk about how you could use Windows to Go if you're on a Mac, or if you're on a machine that runs Windows 7, for example. We're going to talk about that. Then we're going to get right into Cinder, Hello World, show a sample app called Particle Man. And then Open Frameworks, again, Hello World there, and then sample application. So, Carmen, take it away.
So we're holding these events across the world. We've been to China, Germany, and New York recently. And one of the things we've really seen is a lot of our customers are using Macs. And we want to, the Kinect for Windows SDK is a Windows platform. So the SDK must be run on a PC running Windows 8. And a lot of our Mac users don't really have the space, or their machines are capable of running Windows, but they're not quite sure how to get that enabled or installed on the system.
Right, especially you come to a hackathon, you're there for a short amount of time, 24 hours, 36 hours. You don't want to spend a bunch of time up front, setting up boot camp and getting all that going.
Right. So Macs are, they are capable of running Windows, and we wanted to take advantage of, like Ben said, boot camp. Boot camp is a way to run Windows on your Mac, and I'm going to post an article about this, and I think it's really important to see. So if you have boot camp already, make sure that you're running Windows 8.1 or 8. Either will work. And for those that don't have the space, we actually know about a feature in Windows 8.1 or 8.0 that I've kind of played around a bit with, and I've thought this might be a perfect time to bring it out of my bag. And what we have here are something called Windows to Go drives. It's a USB drive, full USB hard drive, or a USB stick.
USB 3, right?
USB 3, yes. Yep. We need the full, so we want to be able to load Windows fast, so we need USB 3. So if you might be able to get this on a FireWire drive, or even a Lightning Bolt drive. So as long as you can get the Windows installed on these drives, you're going to be able to run Windows directly off the disk. And we've done this successfully at our last event, and to great success, I might add, which is a perfect option for some of our Mac users. So look for a blog later. I'm going to try to get this written up for you guys so you can actually see how you could use one of these drives.
But basically, just to kind of summarize the experience is, if I'm on a Mac, I plug this Windows to Go device into a USB 3 port on my Mac. When I'm booting up the Mac, I hold down the Option key. It brings up the various hard disks that are available. This Windows to Go device shows up as one of those options. I just select that, and then the computer boots 100% off of this external drive. Right. So the internal drive, like Carmen said, if there's no space or if it's fragments, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It runs off of here. So we've been going to these events that we're doing with Visual Studio and our SDK installed, and people can just kind of have at it. So Boot Camp is still probably going to give you the best experience, but if you can't do that, Windows to Go is great.
Yes.
Yeah.
So with that, a lot of the creative community out there they're using these open source frameworks. Cinder, Open Frameworks were probably the most popular ones that we've seen so far. Processing is another one, which I don't have here today with us, but we are working with them. So what we want to do here is kind of show you, I have this blog that or the link that Ben has showed you. There's a lot of setup in getting the source code to Cinder and Open Frameworks on your machine. So we didn't want to waste a lot of time with that. So where I leave off on the blog is what you're seeing here on screen. So one of the main points of of the blog was creating the project and getting what we call the Cinder KCB2 plugin enabled with your project.
Again, KCB, Kinect Common Bridge. We're going to talk a little bit about that here in a few minutes.
Right. So in Cinder, there's these things called blocks. In open frameworks, they call them add-ons, but really what they are, they're plugins. They're ways of abstracting away some of the low-level programming that you'd have to do in C++ and kind of makes it a lot simpler to write getting Kinect data into your app. And really, that's what we're trying to do here. So getting started, you should have you won't see some of this code, just kind of compare and contrast what we have here and what you have in your project. But you should have the KCB add-on or Cinder block added on here. We won't go into the code, but really what we want to do is look at the Cinder tutorial app project. And what this does, what we're doing is we're going to add the Kinect.2 header file, and we're going to set up a couple references for the Kinect. This is similar to how we have a reader and a sensor. Here, they're calling a device reference and a frame.
I think it's important to point out here that this is, if you're familiar with Cinder, I think this is going to feel very familiar to you.
Right.
This is made, so remember the caveat that we did way back in the beginning of the slide, it was 25 minutes ago when we kind of started, and we said the caveat was make it easy.
Right.
And so this will be familiar to a Cinder developer. So if you're new to Cinder, you might be looking at this saying, wow, what is this? But if you're in the Cinder world, this is just going to be very comfortable for you. You're going to be able to get the Kinect right into your app and get going.
Correct. So there was a question about the previous Unity sample. We're going to work on trying to get that to you guys. It's not officially going to be in the SDK, but we might have other ways of getting it to you. So
yeah, just come to the forum. We'll share the link again at the end of this module. Come to the forum, make the ask, and we'll do what we can to get you the code.
Correct. So again, we want to go through that gamers loop. We have a setup, update, and draw. And again, here we have the Kinect sensor. Again, this is not specific to Kinect, but something that should be familiar to Cinder developers. We're going to create this device context. We're going to enable color, and in this, we're creating an event handler that returns back this frame object. And so a lot of this code happens behind the scenes. So this is a way to have an inline way of getting the Kinect frame object that they've created back to your code.
Basically, all this code runs once at the beginning of your app, and then we get right into the game loop.
Correct. Here, there's not much of a loop. The update, we're not actually updating. What's happening in this sample is the plugin itself is actually grabbing the Kinect data, so it's doing everything it has in the background. Cinder, if you're not familiar, again, as we're saying, these are creative coding libraries or frameworks that you can write applications, desktop Mac, desktop Windows Store through MS OpenTech has a Windows Store version of it, or even Macs, but you can't do Kinect.2 development on a Mac. But
Cinder, just want to throw this in here, a little bit of history. Cinder originated in the agency space, right? Yes. So you have these creative agencies, and they're tasked to go and create these amazing visual experiences for their clients.
Correct.
And so Cinder was created by an agency, and they decided, hey, this is so awesome. They did something that was even more awesome than creating Cinder. They gave it away to the community as an open source project. So this allows you to do things like particle systems and shader effects and a lot of things that could be very hard to do if you were doing it from scratch.
Right. Even creating a Windows application. There's a lot of framework code you have to build out. If you've ever seen Win32, creating a window is not one line of code. It's about 50 to 100 lines of code depending on what you're doing. Everyone's done this. Why do we have to recreate the wheel?
Right.
So what Cinder does is take a lot of that work, even open frameworks and processing, takes all that work of writing an app and brings it all into one space, so you don't have to worry about that. You just focus on what you want to do, which is being creative.
I think we got to get into showing the sample, because I think we're getting short on time to get through everything.
Okay. Yeah. We want to show you the cool stuff. So again, this is a really simple hello world. All we're going to do is, clear the backbuffer, the GL frame buffer, and then we're just going to draw our color frame. Nothing.
So this is like our color basic sample in the toolkit, but on Cinder.
Correct.
Right.
So not very exciting. So let me show you.
I thought it was somewhat exciting.
When you've seen it 100 times, 100,000 times maybe, it's not that exciting anymore. So what we really want to show you is the power of Cinder. Actually, I'm just going to run the demo. The code is available through the Cinder plugin, and the links to those plugins are available online. So let me show you particle. This is created in Cinder, and something very dynamic is happening here. Again, this is similar to what we showed in Unity, but this time we're actually rendering some kind of particle trails. There's about 30,000 particles in this scene right now that are being rendered.
Did you count those yourself? How do you know it's 30,000?
Because we wrote it in the code.
Oh, okay.
Cheated. We cheated. But the cool thing is we're adding effects. So as I move my hands, we're getting trails and a lot of particle type systems that are part of Cinder. You don't have to write these yourself.
So basically we're just using the depth data from the Kinect, getting that into Cinder, and then using its built-in capabilities to do these cool particles.
Yeah, to move the particles in depth in 3D space, so that way, you could be very creative in this framework. Similarly, as with with Cinder, we have open frameworks, and I'm just going to load up a project here real quick. Apps, my apps. We're just going to load up this project. And I'm going to show you a little bit of what it kind of looks like here.
So again, while Carmen's opening this up, the K4W, aka.ms/K4WCC setup, that's going to take you through how do you set up both Cinder and open frameworks.
Correct.
So if you want to set up both, great, or you can pick and choose, and that'll get you right up to the point here where we're looking at code.
Right. Something that I do point out is the plugins live in their plugins folder. So here we have an add-ons folder, and here's the actual Kinect V2 sample, and they actually provide a sample project here. So you can, run this, and it's not really Again, the Hello World is available, and we're going to show you real quick here. Again, part of the setup, we initialize our sensor. So again, a little different than what we're seeing in Cinder, but again, you don't see the actual Kinect code underneath where you have to create an object, create a reader. It's create a sensor and initialize streams. And this project here is a lot more complex. We don't have time to go through it all, and I'll have to talk to the author of this whether or not we can give this out as a sample, because I think it's very effective in what it does. And we're just going to run the sample. Hopefully we don't have to compile. Okay, we'll just run the baked version.
We step over to the oven.
Yep.
And we take out.
So this one here, you'll notice that I didn't show up immediately. And what happens here is we're using the body mask from Kinect, and we're masking out the background, and we're just finding out where I am in the scene. And based on that, we're taking the depth points and creating these squiggly particles that have little lines that float everywhere. So you can see they're only showing up where my hands are and where my body is. So it's picking up a little bit of the background. But again, this is me with a lot of little squiggles creating my form. This actually works with multiple people. So if you have two people, they'll actually have different effect.
Cool.
And then we have one last demo to show you guys to give you a little bit more inspiration. This one has a little flickering, but as you can see, we've generated my body as a 3D object. Let's see if I can turn the scene around. So on the left side here, we actually see a mesh so we used Marching Cube's technique of creating a mesh of my body. And on the right, we've actually created another representation, just colorizing it with some cool shading effects. A lot of this happens on the GPU, so you will have to learn a little bit of OpenGL CL shader language code. But again, you could be very effective in creating some really cool demos.
Very cool. Terrific. So is that back to the slides?
Back to the slides.
Great. So we talked about Windows to Go. We went through Cinder, and Open Frameworks just there. So now we want to talk about Kinect Common Bridge. What is it? Compare it a little bit with the Kinect.UnityPackage, and then talk about supported frameworks. So back in, I believe it was our 1.7 release of the SDK for Kinect for Windows V1, we came out with these two samples called bridges. And again, we heard from customers, they said, hey, make it easier for us to get our Kinect data into MATLAB and OpenCV. So we actually did that work and we shipped these samples to show how that worked. But what we realized is that there was a more flexible approach that we could take. And we actually worked with multiple groups here. We worked directly with the teams at Open Frameworks and Cinder. Those folks kind of came to us and said, hey, we want an easier way to use Kinect data inside. If we use your native API, there's a lot of setup that we have to do, a lot of scaffolding and all this setup and teardown we have to do. Can you give us an API that looks like this? And so we had a back and forth dialogue with them, and that really led to us working with MS OpenTech, or Microsoft Open Technologies, to ship Kinect Common Bridge. So again, the goal was simplify getting the data in. We shipped it last fall with V1, and we also then updated and had a preview or a beta of KCB V2 just last month in June. So this is available now. You can go to the MS OpenTech GitHub and you can get KCB. It basically uses our native API. So remember from the diagram that Jesse talked through earlier, we have the native API and we have the .NET API and the WinRT. Uses that native API and exposes it as a set of flat C functions. So how does that compare with the Kinect.UnityPackage? Well, the goal, as Carmen mentioned earlier with the Kinect.UnityPackage, is to bring the APIs to Unity. So the same API surface and style and the way those work, we wanted to have that same thing show up inside of Unity. The other thing there is it is a direct port of that managed API. Kinect Common Bridge, the goal is a dead simple way to expose Kinect data to those frameworks. So we didn't have the same goal of getting the full API surface exposed in the same way. It was really just, as Carmen said, on that gamer's loop, I want to pull, I want to get a frame, and I want to keep going on with whatever I'm doing in my app. And those are flat C-based APIs, so they're not a direct port of our managed, or frankly, even a direct port of our native API, right?
We just wanted to make it simple, expose it to multiple frameworks, not just Cinder or Open Frameworks, but any framework that can actually import a C-based library.
Yes, that's right. So we had a question earlier about Unreal Engine. So if you look at the left part of this slide, what's supported today? Cinder and Open Frameworks, as we've shown. We have active investigations happening right now with folks that are over on the processing team, as well as folks over at Epic who are the creators of Unreal Engine. So we would definitely like to hear your feedback. If you're watching this, please come to our developer forum and let us know, hey, I really want to use processing. Even though we're working on it, help motivate us to get that done faster. Make sure that the way we're doing it is going to work for your scenario. So come and tell us what frameworks or libraries you want us to support, what you want to do. We want to work with you to make that possible. Like we said, like Carmen said, KCB was designed to be, to really work as that common bridge. It's in the name. Have that common bridge to all these other frameworks and libraries. So I put this little plug on the slide. Your favorite framework here. We want your feedback. We want to work with you. So now we're up to the exciting conclusion. What did we see now? Well, we talked about how it's easy to use Kinect APIs in your Unity 3D app or game using the package that we're producing. Kinect Common Bridge is available, and it's a way to get to other frameworks like we talked about, Cinder and Open Frameworks. There's the link, aka.ms/Kinect Common Bridge. That'll get you over to the MS OpenTech GitHub repo or repository and allow you to download that. You can go again to aka.ms K4WCC setup. Get our setup guide. We'll point you to all the stuff you need for Cinder and Open Frameworks. And then Our forum link there, aka.ms/K4WV2 forum, to tell us how we can better serve you, what libraries you'd like to see. So here again, you guys, if you've been with us for the other modules up till now, this slide's going to look very familiar to you. I'm going to leave it up. If you haven't seen this slide before, I just want to highlight these are the sort of the key URLs. General info in our blog. You can purchase a sensor. Sensors are shipping today. The preview SDK went live today. You can download it there. Again, developer forum link. Twitter, our team Twitter is Kinect Windows. I'm at Ben Lauer, Rob's at Arrelier. And then we have these 3 awesome hackathons that we're doing July 18th in Dallas, July 26th here in Redmond at the Microsoft headquarters, and then up in Waterloo, which is outside of Toronto, August 8th. Those are the links to register. Our engineering team showing up in full force. We're showing up with lots of loaner sensors, loaner Surface Pros, loaner Windows To Go devices. We're going to feed people really well. There's going to be fabulous prizes. I mean, if there's any way possible for you to get to one of these events, you should come. They're going to be a ton of fun. You're going to learn a lot, and you're going to see some amazing things being created. So with that, I want to go to some of the questions that have come in.
Oh, my blog. Actually, it's the Kinect for Windows blog site. So if you've ever been to...
The question was?
Oh, the question was, I talk a lot about a blog. The link to the blog will be directly from the...
Yeah, just go to connectforwindows.com. Up in the kind of upper right corner area, there's a link to the blog that'll take you right to our blog. It's hosted on MSDN. We share product news and we show some nerd out ones and zeros engineering posts like the one that Carmen wrote that went up this morning.
Yes. Java samples. So we don't have Java samples directly. One of the things I'm not really familiar with is how to bring a C-based library into Java. I'd like to learn from you guys, so if you have any feedback for us, processing is actually a Java language. So we're working with the processing team, and that might be the right way to use Kinect Common Bridge with Java.
Yep. Any other questions? There's no way that we nailed all. I know there's so many people online right now. So let's see. We got a question coming in. A lot of people want the samples. Yeah, so thank you. We're glad the samples are interesting. I think that Particle Man and Cinder, I think those things are amazing, especially somebody like myself who comes from a web, and then a Windows, sort of desktop and development background. Doing those types of particle things are impossible, if not like they're at least really, really hard. So seeing that stuff is really cool. So come to the forums, let us know. We want to share and enable you to use these things. There's a question, where can I find the open framework samples? I want Blockman source code. I want Particle Man source code. So these maybe are 3 questions. So the Particle Man is actually a Cinder sample. So go to the link aka.ms K4W CC setup. That'll link you out to the Wieden-Kennedy GitHub repository, which is they're the ones who published the Cinder block. So there you can get the Particle Man code. It hasn't been ported yet to KCB v2, but Carmen did that last night at an hour. So I'm sure we can get something posted to help people there.
I'll push that back to them, and they can integrate that into the project. Now,
Blockman, that may be a reference to the Kinect Evolution thing earlier. If that's what you're talking about, the Kinect Evolution sample will show up in our official SDK later this year at some point. We're still working on getting that through all of the code review that we do here to make sure that's really high quality. Next question, is there a native API available, or do you have to use KCB? We have a full native COM API in our SDK, so you don't have to use KCB. You would use KCB, again, if you wanted to kind of build your own bridge into another framework or library. Rapid prototyping. Actually, yeah, using KCB is a way to sort of abstract away a lot of the setup things that you would have to do in the native API. So it may be more productive for you to do that for rapid prototyping, as Carmen points out.
Future European hacks.
So there's a question about any news on future European hacks. It's a good question. I don't have anything really to announce today. I can't promise. We have some things in the works that we're trying to finalize on that. So keep an eye on our blog. And I think we'll have something to say there very soon. We do want to come to Europe because we know we have a lot of great developers there. Last question before we wrap up here. Is K4W V2 available on Microsoft Store or physical stores? So you can go and buy the Kinect for Windows V2 sensor today, right now, in 23 countries. And it's sold currently through the Microsoft Store. So if you go to microsoftstore.com, it'll redirect to whatever the local Microsoft Store is in your country or region. There's a really good chance that we're selling it in your country. I understand that we don't have it available everywhere where there's developers. We hear all the time like, oh, hey, you got to get this thing to Brazil. Hey, you got to get this thing to Israel. You got to get this thing to India. We know. We're working on it. We want to be everywhere. It just, shipping hardware, there's a lot of things that we have to go through. So if you go to aka.ms, if we can bring the slides back again just for a second, the second link there, aka.ms/K4WV2 purchase. This is going to redirect you to our website. It'll tell you the full list of countries where we currently sell. It tells you the SKU number so you can be sure you're getting the exact right SKU with the proper power cord for your region, as well as the link to the Microsoft Store to purchase that. So with that, I think we're going to close. Thank you so much, Carmen, for coming and sharing those awesome samples and for all your great work helping to support the community. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the questions. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back in just a few minutes, and I'll still be here in this chair. And then next to me, we're going to have Matthew Samari is going to come in. We're going to talk Kinect Fusion, Face, HD Face. Then after that, we still have Module 6, Module 7. I'm amped up if you can't tell. This is super fun and exciting. So thank you for hanging in there, and we'll see you back in a few minutes.